Tommy, in looking at these inspection reports, what's your reaction?
Well, other than it being horrible, and the landlords, you know, supposedly part of a ministry, they're not doing much ministering at both Washington Heights and Eureka. The others seem to be doing okay. I tell you, you know, out of sight, out of mind. I don't know what they're doing with the money. They collect the money from the federal government, and then they don't go back and do what they need to be doing, addressing the mold problem, the wood problem, the cabinets, everything's just falling apart. They're in squalor. And we're right here in Jacksonville. They're not in the Ozarks somewhere, and they're not in the Appalachia area. They're here in Jacksonville, Florida, and shame on us for just getting notice of what's going on over there. I applaud the mayor and Mr. Dennis and others for addressing Eureka, and I'm sure the mayor's going to do the same thing at Washington Heights. But as an at-large councilman, I think it's incumbent on me, because all of these are in our 5 at-large council districts. So we're going to be looking at it. I'm planning on going on the 21st of this month to the Tenant Association, which is not as strong apparently as the one in Eureka, and we want to talk. I'm going with legal aid to go there as well. I've been working with them, just getting involved in it. I don't want to be a Johnny-come-lately, but when I got the report how Washington Heights is at 60.01, and that's barely passing. To me, it's a D-, but it's worse than a D- to me. And they're 7 points under where they were a year ago. Mm-hmm. And here you have Eureka's not much better at 62, and they're not moving fast enough. And I don't know if, you know, the irony of this is the man's name, he's a reverend, he's a pastor, and his name is Hamlet. Well, these places aren't hamlets in Jacksonville, Florida. Mm-hmm. They're equivalent of a pothole, and unfortunately, they're letting people live there. Mm-hmm. And we're going to change that. And they're going to have to move forward, or they're going to have to sell it. And I'll do everything I can to make sure that if they can't keep them up, that they need to give them up.
What do you have to say specifically to the people of Washington Heights that tell me they feel forgotten about in all of this?
I don't think they're forgotten, but, you know, not being aware of all the others that go on you know, I was very aware when I was mayor of the Blodgett here in town. We addressed that issue. This was way back when downtown where the state office building is. We were able to address problems down there, not nearly the problems that they have here at Eureka, but they've been around for 50, 60, 70 years, and people live there that long. Mm-hmm. We were able to build facilities, build homes, build affordable housing for all of the residents, and then we moved them into these, and we demolished the old Blodgett. That's the ideal way to do it if they need a place to go. And unfortunately, they're stuck. They're stuck in their apartments in the conditions that they're in, and HUD is just now getting on top of it. They should have been on top of it a long time ago in enforcing it. You know, it almost borders a federal investigation, or at least by the Department of Justice. He has no business. We're not the only ones. Memphis has lost some buildings where he's from, lost some apartments, and it's like that all over the country. I've seen it on national news, and how he gets away with it is criminal.
What would you say directly to Reverend Richard Hammond?
I tell him to pack it up, sell them. I'd make them either fix them up if we're not going to tear them down, and then sell them and leave. He has no business being in this business. I don't know if it's just a profit-making thing for him or not. He's getting the money, $6 million, I believe, from HUD, and I don't know how much is going back into rehabilitating the apartments over there now, Eureka or Washington Heights. And Washington Heights is much worse than Eureka, and that's the one we've been reading about. Mm-hmm. I can tell the residents today that today is the beginning of a correction for where they are today, from where they are. And they're no different than Eureka. They're in worse condition than Eureka and the city of Jacksonville. This is a city problem. It's not a district councilman's problem. It's not just the at-large councilman. The mayor has embraced it as an issue. I know he's getting ready to go out there. I'm going out there. Just going out is not enough, but we need to make sure we get into the apartments like you did, see firsthand what's going on, and then addressing it with Reverend Hamlet and others. I'll bring the fire code marshal in there with me, and you know, again, he should be penalized on top of what's happening to these people. He should, and the residents there who are our citizens, he should be punished. You know, it's not enough to say fix him up and you're okay. To me, he's conducted a lot of criminal activity in the way he's conducted this. He's not just a landlord that, what do they used to call him up, a slum landlord? It shouldn't be a slum. I don't even want to refer to it, because the people who are living there, our citizens who are living there, They didn't move there as being a part of a slum area. And so as a result, I think that he owes it to the city, not just to apologize, but to fix him up and to get out of our city. I don't want him here, to be honest with you. I don't think he's fit to operate housing in Jacksonville, Florida. Just like obviously he's not in Memphis, and the HUD is addressing that there. But I still think it falls back on HUD for not enforcing it. They give them the money, and they expect them just to do their thing, and it's out of sight, out of mind for them. And you know, it's not enough. I mean, that's our tax money and their livelihood and their quality of life. You got people having 2 jobs, and then they come back to a home that's not really a home. It's a home only because they have a family, but it's not a living condition that they want to be in. Sure, there's no air condition. Sure, there are roaches and the rats and the mole. From a health standpoint, we know what it's like in Eureka. You know it's got to be just as bad or worse at Washington Heights. And we've got to get a handle on it. And, you know, it's never too late. But the thing is as far as I'm concerned, it's too late for Mr. Hamlet, for Reverend Hamlet. Why he calls himself a reverend, I don't know.
I guess further, just, you know, HUD has their constraints on what they can do, but are you committed?
Absolutely.
To bring the city in?
Absolutely. And I think the city's committed to already coming in and doing something about it. You know, all of us are kind of hung up on a pension referendum, but you know, we can multitask, and we need to address these problems while we're trying to address our monetary issues here in Jacksonville, you know, our budget. And we can do that, and that's what we're doing. I think the mayor's taking some big steps. We're going to continue to do that, and I think that the mayor's office and the city council is committed to making sure that they're not going to be living in this kind of squalor any longer.
Is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, I just, you know, there are 4 others that they have, and apparently they scored 90. Good for them. They were in that condition when they bought them. I don't know what condition these 2 were in, Eureka Gardens and Washington Heights, when they moved in, but it couldn't have been much better than they are today, and in fact probably much worse, because if Washington Heights went from 67 to a 60.01, you know, if you're in school, you're almost failing. And we have enough issues to deal with that without making this thing another one on top of it. And I just say shame on Reverend Hamlet, shame on his global ministry, because to me he has taken something that's very serious, very, in his words, Christian, I think, and being very unchristian, like in the way he's dealing with his fellow man. He's not loving his neighbor as he loves himself, I can assure you, and he loves himself big time with over $500,000 in income.
And I guess, would you be interested in following the money and the bonds? I know Bloomberg's looking into that.
Yes,
as well.
but I think it's going to have to take our, you know, I'm not the money expert from that perspective. I can do a budget, but as far as the bonds and how they did an end around to get to the bonds that they have here, and talking to you and what's been going on with that, they did, you know, they circled the globe to get the dollars that they got. They probably didn't go through the normal process and get the money in the first place. What really concerns me is getting $6 million, and you say, where's the beef? And it's certainly not in those apartments at Washington Heights, and obviously not at Eureka Gardens.